In 2025, back in January, I started posting all of the meals that we were making to try to give you guys ideas of how we batch cook meals, pull things out of the freezer, repurpose leftovers, and occasionally have a fancy meal. So all of these videos are on a playlist, and this video is Meals 8. It actually starts on April 7th. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. I only go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks, and I'm able to keep our grocery budget to $135 per person. And currently, for over the last year, it has just been my husband Mike and I here, and so our grocery budget has been $270 per month. I post all of our grocery hauls and all of the food that we're bringing into our house. This video series shows you all the different meals that I'm making and how to incorporate some of these ideas into yours. So these videos normally come out about a month after we have actually ate the meals. So I like to clarify, when this video starts, it's been about a week since I've been to the grocery store. And also this goes for 2 weeks, and it's kind of a place where you get to see little sneak peeks into our life that we don't normally show other places on social media, and you can see how busy we are and other projects that are happening. So it's not just meals in this video, it's kind of an overall vlog of what's happening in our lives. So these videos then get edited and then they go up on YouTube. So you get to see them about a month after we were actually eating the meals. But I tried to tell you if there was a holiday or calendar dates so you can kind of see where we are in the seasons, because our meals do change throughout the years based on what season we're eating in. So we're going to start this off with something that I actually batch cooked, and that was Sloppy Joes. I took 2 pounds of hamburger and added a ton of vegetables to it. So we were able to not only have a dinner for that night, but I was able to put 4 portions away for other meals. And I normally store those in glass containers that I put in the freezer. So with the same mess that I would make to cook dinner for one night, I actually had 5 dinners worth of meals between dinner that night and what could go into the freezer that we could pull out for other nights. One of my goals when I'm making dinner is to try to use up things that I already have in the refrigerator, and this kind of made a happy accident a while back ago with making these Sloppy Joes, and now it's just something I do all of the time. But I had some marinara in the refrigerator that needed to be used up, and you can substitute marinara or pasta sauce or even tomato sauce interchangeably in recipes. And so I used that sauce, but it just made it have such a bold, rich flavor to the Sloppy Joes that now I always use pizza sauce when I'm going to make it. And I make my own homemade pizza sauce once a year, normally in the fall when the tomatoes are just harvested. So we will be posting some more videos on how I make tomato sauce and ketchup and barbecue later this fall. I added some sliced mozzarella to this because, again, I'm using what I have on hand. And I also wanted to comment in the video, it might look like it's a little greasy. It's actually water that I had added to simmer down a little bit just to mix in all of the seasonings, and then I forgot to take another video after it was simmered down. So that's not grease, it's just water on the video. So things that I am sneaking into these Sloppy Joes is not only stretching that meat serving and our budget, it's also adding hidden vegetables into our dinner. Is peppers and onions. You can add zucchini, especially if you peeled the zucchini first. It's way easier to hide it in there. And you can also add things like lentils if you're trying to stretch out your meat servings and save on your grocery budget. And I normally keep our hamburger buns in the freezer and then just pull out whatever we need for the meal. So if I get a package of 8, that normally lasts us for 4 meals. And if you would like this recipe, please let us know and we can send it out in the newsletter or make a blog post for it. So what we're having for dinner this night is actually leftovers from the end of Meal 7 video where we had teriyaki chicken sandwiches. On this night, we are actually having just teriyaki chicken that was left over and some rice and fresh pineapple with that. I had been working all a day packing boxes, and so it was something that I was able to easily put together in just a couple minutes and put in the rice and the rice cooker. It literally took me less than 2 minutes to cook dinner. And because I like to put milestones on this, this is the day that we hit 1,000 zero waste produce guides books sold. So those boxes I were packing were not boxes to move. They were actually boxes that were leaving the house to go to yours. Now we are planning on moving and hopefully moving soon. And so this day I actually left to go look at a couple houses. Where we're wanting to move is about 4 hours away from where we live now. And so I was gone for a couple days, but I was cooking the whole time because I was staying with my kiddo, and I made sure to pack a cooler with me of some things that I wanted to bring over to them and make sure that I could meal prep for them and get things into their freezer. And I've been testing a recipe that I'm going to share, and I wanted to get another opinion on it. So I was taking some of the ingredients over there with me, but it's also really nice to have a kiddo that was raised in my house that knows how to stock ingredients. So I knew that all of the basic ingredients they would have in their house already. I made lemon orzo chicken. This is something that we have on the blog and we have the recipe for. If you're looking for the link, just ask in the comments and we will send it to you, but it should also be in the description. But I just wanted to give some reminders on freezing food and defrosting it and how the guidelines have changed in the recent years. So it used to be that you could take raw meat out of the freezer and cook it and then batch cook it and put it back into the freezer. So it had to go from being raw to cooked, and then it could be refrozen again. And in the last couple of years, that guideline has changed. So now you can actually take cooked meat that was in the freezer and make it into a meal and then refreeze that cooked meat again. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but it used to go from you could only have raw meat to cooked meat to go back into the freezer. Now it's changed where if you defrosted everything properly and it was only stored in the refrigerator for the proper amount of time, not too long, then you can put those items back in the freezer. I'm saying this because I took some cooked chicken and made this lemon orzo pasta, and then I was able to divide this into servings to put into the freezer. So I put them in smaller servings using the super cubes to put them into the freezer so they would have this meal not only for dinner but for other busy nights. Mashed potatoes, when I'm making them, I try to make a lot at one time because they seem like they're a little time consuming and they freeze so well. So I have learned to take advantage of those nap times, especially raising my own kids and foster kids. I have learned that you might only be able to peel 1 or 2 potatoes at a time, but as long as you can put them in a bowl with cool water and make sure that they're submerged, you can kind of do that process all day long. If you are trying to do this the night before, they can also go into a bowl in the refrigerator with cold water and they won't oxidize and turn brown. So it's a perfect thing to do later in the evening or as you're going through the day and can only do a little bit at a time. When I'm making my mashed potatoes, I always add Greek yogurt to it and Parmesan cheese, and it seems like that also helps when it's being reheated, that it stays the same consistency. So this is another way that I'm utilizing those super cubes and making the portions that they needed in their family. This is the pork chops and apples recipe. I mentioned it in the last video. I have now remade it and wrote down the exact measurements on how to do it. So we will be sending out this recipe in the newsletter and probably putting it up on the blog at some point. So make sure that you're signed up for the newsletter. The link is in the description. And then this year, I've also been posting all of our grocery haul videos, and this is a package of pork chops that I got, I think 2 grocery shopping cycles ago now. And I was able to take that $20 package of pork chops and divide it into 5 meals. Now we did have a little bit of the pork chops and apple left over with the mashed potatoes. And so you will see the portion sizes that I was chopping this up very small, but that one little leftover portion was able to make 5 dinners for a little appetite. This is something not only with the littles in our life that I learned how to do, but also when our grandma lived with us. At 95, her appetite was so tiny that I would divide up her dinners into small little portions. So if we were having something that she didn't like on a certain night, I could pull out something out of the freezer that she did. Another thing that I was doing while I was there was making sure that I was helping to prep any veggies. So somebody really likes cooked zucchini. And so I was cooking up some extra to put into the refrigerator so all week they could just pull out some extra pieces. This is a great reminder when you start adding tons of vegetables and fruits into your family's diet that they get used to it, and it just becomes a natural thing to eat more fruits and veggies. And while I was there, I also noticed that there was a 3-pound bag of carrots that needed to be used up. So I went ahead and diced those up and boiled them so they could go into the freezer into smaller portions, and that way they could be reheated super easy on a busy night. Something else that I was making while I was there was extra pancakes. Whenever I'm making pancakes or waffles, I always make them from scratch, but I'm also adding more protein to it. So I'm either adding extra eggs into the batter or adding scoops of protein powder to it. Also, you can add cottage cheese in, but being able to have something that's normally kind of carb heavy and adding more protein is really great. And then I cook extra and put it in the freezer, so it just has to be reheated really quickly. I'm just sharing this because it's one of my favorite sounds of springs. But we've had our own backyard chickens for over 10 years, and it's so fun to have new chickens that we get every 5 years or so, but this is not the year to get it. As we're deciding on where we're going to move, we know that we're going to build a new chicken coop. And so whoever is going to either buy our house or we're going to give our chicken coop and chickens to another family. So we're looking forward to that next season of having chickens, but it probably won't be until next year. Something else that we did while we were over there is we went to the tulip fields, which was so much fun, and I love being able to experience those outdoor adventures with my family. But before we left, I made sure to put a roast in the crock pot, so it was perfectly done when we walked back in the door. This roast we were planning on not only having for dinner that night, but I went ahead and chopped and shredded the rest up, so they had over 4 more meals to make that were left in the freezer. So with having that cooked meat in the freezer, they would be able to pull that back out really easy and season it to make tacos or taquitos or fajitas. Those are all kind of in the same realm of what seasonings you would put on them, but you could also make things like French dips. So I was checking the items that they had in their freezer, and everything that I was suggesting, they already had the items that they would need to make those other complete meals. This is another great reason to have a stocked pantry and things in your freezer that you can pull out for multiple different reasons, and it also gives you so many different possibilities of what you can make. So since I do a 4-hour drive to come back home, I made sure that I ate a hearty lunch. Now this plate is for somebody else. I didn't take the picture of my plate, but we had orzo and hummus and some peppers and avocados for a later lunch. And then on the way home, I ended up just drinking a protein shake when it was closer to dinner time. That is something that I like to keep on hand, especially being diabetic, to make sure that I hit my protein goals every day. And I do pack extra snacks with me and a small cooler. I had some beef sticks and some cheese with me along with that protein shake. But we have went 4 months now without getting any takeout, and I've been doing lots of these road trips, which is just pretty amazing that we've been able to use that taking out budget and put it towards other things. In my planner, not only am I keeping track of the meals that I made, it's easy to flip back and see different months of what we are eating or other years of what we were eating for meals, and it helps my memory to think of different meals for our family. But I also keep track of how we went out to eat. And so that is its own grocery budget, and I divide it into a couple different categories. So we have I was too lazy to cook, didn't have ingredients in my house, and we got takeout kind of budget. Sometimes we have in our entire household budget, which is not groceries, that is separate. And then we also save for special occasions, date nights, and family memories. So I make sure that we still have the money to be able to do those memorable things as a couple or as a family, and we haven't went and got takeout too much and ruined that budget. So I have over the years divided those things into two separate categories to make sure that we're staying on track, but that eating out budget is totally separate than our grocery budget, which is $135 per person. And I will say, during the different seasons of our life, that extra spending money that we have for extra things, which includes going out or takeout, has changed. Sometimes it's very drastic. Our 20th wedding anniversary, we had $20 and we went and got milkshakes and watched the sunset, and it's still one of my favorite anniversaries we've ever had. And sometimes that budget can be bigger. Sometimes, like this year, we have that budget down to almost zero, so we can do some other fun things, getting our house ready to sell and moving to a new house. So while I was gone for a couple days, Mike was at home and he was eating freezer meals and taking care of himself. But our deck got installed while I was gone, which was just amazing. Something that we have been saving for years got put up in just a couple days. And then Mike was also working on that pantry room. If you've been following that along since January, that was officially turned back into a bedroom. It is all painted now with new floors, and we were able to get a bed in there and then be excited for what was happening later in the spring. We pulled out some stuffed peppers out of the freezer that had the Mexican quinoa mix in it. And then we also had that with avocados. Those avocados were over 2 weeks old at this point, and that was something that we were able to reheat really easy in the oven and then add it with avocados. I did have it with some chips, which at this point those chips were over 6 weeks old also. I normally keep chicken strips in the freezer. I sometimes will make them myself. It depends on who is home, because we're an allergy family and I need to make sure that the ingredients are all safe. If you're looking for an allergy-friendly recipe, we have that on the blog and we can link that in the description. But having chicken strips, we have often with just some fruit, or then we can also have it on salads. This was another night of something just super simple. I had made enchiladas, I think in January. It was on one of these first meals videos. I had frozen them individually and then put them in bags into the freezer. And we've been able to just pull those out 2 at a time and have them for dinner. Now these are so loaded with peppers and onions and other veggies in them, and also beans, that I don't have to worry about having a side dish. But we did have them with some Greek yogurt and some avocado. Now that I am back home, things are kind of calmed down and I had some time to spend in the kitchen, I was able to meal prep some veggies, and I was doing some extras so we could pull those back out for other meals. But I made a bunch of spiralized zucchini that I was making for that dinner. And then I pulled out some of the asparagus that at this point it was actually 6 weeks old in the refrigerator, and chopped that up. Then I added peppers and onions and carrots and celery, and into a large pan I cooked all those. I added the zucchini and the asparagus a little bit after the harder vegetables, and I just did that with a little bit of oil and salt and pepper and garlic and kept it really plain, because in another pan I made shrimp scampi that had a butter sauce, and then I was able to add some of those vegetables in with the shrimp scampi, and that's what we had for dinner. But I didn't want that shrimp sauce to end up on all the other vegetables, because we ended up using those a couple different times over the next week. Taco meat was one of the first things that I learned how to batch cook, honestly, because when I was having my kids, the smell of taco meat and morning sickness was a huge thing for me. So I learned how to batch cook large quantities at one time and be done with it, and divide those into portions to put in the freezer. It seemed, especially when we were newly married and the kids were little, we had tacos at least once a week. So it just made sense to make a month or 2 months worth at a time. And I just used a little bit bigger of a pot, and I was able to do that all at the same time without making a big mess. Now I add a lot more beans and peppers and lentils and onions to it to kind of bulk it up a little bit, and it also helps stretch out the servings, but it is to hide some of those extra nutrients in the taco meat. Now I always keep some soft tortillas flour tortillas in my freezer so I can pull those out at any time. And I love having the tortillas that are so versatile that you can use for many different things. But having soft tacos is one of Mike's favorite meals. Now this might look like our avocado ranch dressing, but it is just ranch, and I sneak cottage cheese into it. It is a green color because I had added a lot of fresh herbs from outside that I plant in our yard. So they're in different spots across our flower beds instead of in the garden, and I'm able to go out and grab some fresh herbs at any time. We have gotten into the habit over the years around 3 to 4 o'clock when everybody is starting to want an afternoon snack that I will put out some dip and some veggies, and that way, especially if it's a high protein dip, I know that everybody's getting a little bit extra protein and we're also getting our veggies in, and then I don't have to worry again at dinner time in a couple hours if everybody ate all of their veggies. I had a small chuck roast still left in the freezer, and this is meat that's still left over from the February 2023 meat delivery. I'm still trying to use up a couple of those extra cuts that we hadn't used up all of the way before we start on the next meat delivery. We are going to be filming a video very soon talking about how I purchase large quantities of meat like this for those that are interested. The chuck roast we had super easy. I just threw it in the Instapot and then we just reheated some of those veggies that I had meal prepped before. Now, when I was talking about going out and making family memories, this is one of them. Every year we go to the fair, normally the fall fair and the spring fair. And over the years, taking so many kids, I have learned a couple tricks that has helped us save some money. And one of those is to get an elephant ear at the fair. So they are humongous, and I know they're not the best for you, but all of us can share one instead of people getting individual snacks, and that has helped cut down the cost. But something else is a souvenir at the fair or other places that we're at. Whenever we see one of those souvenir coin machines that you put in 51 cents, those are like our favorite thing, and we get super excited about them. We've kept all of those souvenir coins over the years, but it is a really inexpensive souvenir to have for your family. And while we were at the fair, we had to get our picture that we get every single year in front of the water fountain. We were so disappointed this fall when the water fountain was gone, because when we were in high school, we had our prom picture in front of that water fountain. And they re-established a different water feature there, but it's not the same. But we still got our annual picture at the water fountain at the fair. I've also taught my kids over the years that we go and see the animals and experience all the farm things at the fair first, and then we decide if we're going to do rides. So sometimes we do. Now that we're older, we don't do the rides as much as we used to, but going to the fair has always been something we established about being in the farm environment, and then we go do the other things. Easter was a great day with our family. Everybody was home, and it was really nice to have everybody sleeping under one roof for the first time in a long time. And that gray room, which was a pantry, is now totally back to a guest room, and they can come home a lot more. For Easter, we went to an egg hunt, and then we had ham and Brussels sprout salad, which I've been making. We put that recipe on the blog. It is so good. We can have that hot or cold. It's kind of sweet. It's delicious. There's a Brussels sprout salad recipe that we can send you if you're interested. And then also just a reminder, whenever we have ham twice a year, normally around Christmas and Easter, I will divide up any of the extra ham and I put those into small snack size bags into one large gallon size bag so they don't get lost in the freezer. And then I can pull those out for fried rice or different egg dishes, and I can use those up over the next 6 months. So I love that I can take a $20 ham and I can end up making about 10 meals after the holiday with it. We have a special bundle for you if you followed this along in the video. It's for the Zero Waste Produce Guide and the Meal Planner. This is on a bundle special, and there's a discount code linked in the description. And remember, we try to answer all of the questions and send you links to the recipes, but also make the recipes for the most requested videos. So sometimes we put those out in the newsletter, and sometimes we will make a whole YouTube video for it. This is the 8th video in the season, which takes us up till Easter, and we're working on video 9. And it does take a couple weeks to put these videos together as I'm cooking all of the recipes and making notes so I don't forget. Just make sure that if you want these kind of videos to continue, that you let us know, that we continue to film these through the summer and the fall.